Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United transfer news, where we give it that real fan opinion on all the latest Manchester United transfer news. I tell you what, these weeks are flying by, aren't they? It was only the start of the week yesterday. It wasn't really, it was Thursday, but another week completed and United haven't signed anybody yet. You know, I didn't think we were going to sign someone this week. I had a bad feeling about it, but you know what? We might announce Wan-Bissaka today. Hopefully we will. The wheel can really start turning then. But lots and lots to talk about, of course. United have only signed one player so far, so we're going to get linked to a lot of players. I'm going to start off with Juventus because I want to start off with something a little bit concrete. Their sporting director actually directly quoted talking about wanting Pogba and wanting Adrien Rabiot, which is really interesting because lots of United fans don't want us to sell Pogba and lots of United fans want us to sign Rabiot, and they could both go to Juventus, and that is what we're up against. Bloody Juventus. I like Juventus. They've always been the team that I like most from Italy, but I tell you what, the change in Juventus really leaves a bad taste in my mouth because United should be in that situation. The Italian league's not been very good for a long time, and whilst Juventus might win titles, they are now considered to be one of the big clubs in Europe. They are attracting top talent. They are taking our best player. They are taking a midfielder that we really want. On to Rabiot. The latest situation with him is that apparently Manchester United and Juventus are offering a €10 million sign-on fee because he's out of contract, and United are offering slightly little bit more in his wages packet of £8 million, €8 million a year, which is around 130, 150 grand a week, which is, you know, reasonable for somebody who's out of contract. But the feeling is that he will go to Juventus on a 5-year contract because obviously Juventus, they're probably going to win their league title, they're going to be in the Champions League, and United, we're not going to win our league title and we're not going to be in the Champions League. So Juventus openly feeling that they can get hold of Pogba, but also one of our key targets for the summer in Adrien Rabiot. And that one will get announced very soon. Well, I say very soon, July the 1st, but I think we'll start to get a feel about where he's going over the next week or so, because as we know with Manchester United, when Manchester United are going to make a signing, the world knows about it at least 2 weeks before it's official. Just sticking with Juventus very quickly, there was an interesting story yesterday from football consultant Ian McGarry, who was talking about Paulo Dybala and said that Manchester United had agreed to meet Paulo Dybala's release clause, but then Dybala changed his mind because obviously Allegri left and he wants to talk to the new manager, and he's then gone off on to the Copa America with Argentina. I find that, well, look, you know, nothing surprises me of being true, but I find that very outlandish, to be honest with you, because United paying the release clause of Dybala, which I think is around the £100 million mark, for a player that we don't necessarily need again. I mean, he's a false 9. He's a number 10. He's not a winger, and he's not a centre midfielder. So to spend such a large amount of money on a player like that would be interesting. And you know what? With Dybala, I like Dybala. I really do. I've always liked Dybala, but I think he's inconsistent. And I think in the Premier League, I say this now, I think Dybala would flop like a porn star in a sausage factory. I really do. I think he would. Obviously, the porn star's dick, not the porn star literally. I do. I really do. I don't think he would do well in the Premier League, and I think he would be another one of those shirt seller signings that we think Galactico comes in, solves all our problems, and I don't think Dybala does. Dybala's not going to come to United and see it as a step up. He's going to see it as a sideways step. Is he going to come here hungry to achieve things at 25? I don't know. I think he'd come here and, you know, and also Pogba's his mate. Maybe Pogba's going the other way, but it's interesting about Dybala, and maybe he doesn't have a future at Juventus, and maybe he does become part of the picture if it's true. And Dimarzio sort of spoke about this, that Pogba favours a move to Juventus. That makes no sense to me, but you know, Pogba makes no sense to me in many ways. Footballers don't. I don't understand why Pogba would leave Juventus and say he's coming home to Manchester United. 3 years later, it doesn't go to plan, and then go back to Juventus and go home there. It's like a yo-yo, like I say. I think Real Madrid is surely the move he wants, but we'll see. Anyway, let's bring it back to Manchester United and acquisitions rather than losses. Ndombele starting on the left now. Again, Juventus. I mean, how many midfielders are Juventus going to sign? They bought Aaron Ramsey. They want Rabiot. They want Ndombele. Apparently, 3 clubs are in for Ndombele: Spurs, Manchester United and Juventus. And the story was that Manchester United and Juventus have actually agreed terms with the player, however that works, but not with the club. But Spurs haven't bid at all. Look, I really hope that Manchester United are in for Tanguy and Ndombele. I think if you're asking me which midfielder I would like United to get priority, I would say Ndombele. Well, no, I wouldn't. I'd say Bruno Fernandes. I think he's my number one, and Ndombele would be my second, above Rabiot, above Partey, above Declan Rice, above anybody else you want to name. I would put Ndombele there. I think he's a very, very good midfielder. 22 years of age. I think from Lyon to Manchester United, it is a step up. He would be looking to go to that next stage. He's got plenty left in the tank. I think he'd be a brilliant midfielder for us. I think if United get that deal, I would stand up and applaud it and go, wow, you've done really well there. Because the indication is that he wants to play Champions League football. He doesn't get that at United. And obviously there are clubs with Champions League football experience who want him. And the Lyon president has said that, you know, I really would like him to go to PSG or Juventus. So everything's against us to get Ndombele, but we're linked to him. Hopefully we're in for him. I think it's one of those where, you know, where you've only got so much money in your pocket and you're bidding for something at an auction and there's some really rich people by you. I think we're just putting our hand up, bidding up to our limit, and then if someone else beats us, they beat us. But it's a bit like buying a lottery ticket, isn't it, with Ndombele? I hope that we can do it, but I'm not confident that we will. But we're in the race, and that's good. That's good. I've said this before. You'd rather be in the ring, in the Royal Rumble, throwing your moves, than being outside the ring, unable to get a ticket to even enter. That's Arsenal. They can't even get in the Royal Rumble. They can't even get in the building. They ain't got the money. At least we've got the money. We ain't got much chance of winning, but we've got the money and we're in the fight. Arsenal aren't even in the fight. They can't even get through the door. It's like, go home, you tramps. Anyway, it's funny. I was having a go at Arsenal yesterday as well, and I'm having a go at them again. And you know why it is? I actually feel that I'm taking the banter here, because Arsenal are our big rivals, aren't they now? Arsenal are our bloody rivals, because that's the level we're at. 6th, fighting for 4th. Our big rival next season is Arsenal. It's not Man City. It's not Liverpool. It's not even Spurs. Our rival is Arsenal, because that's what we're fighting for, 4th. That's how far we've fallen. So, yeah, that's why I'm talking about him so much. Anyway, we move on to the next player, Ruben Dias. This is Portuguese report, so take it with a pinch of salt. I think, you know what? I think the Portuguese press get a little bit unfair, and it all comes down to Gayton, because we were linked to him every summer by them and we were never even in for him. So you always take the Portuguese reports with a bit of trepidation. But the story from Record yesterday, you'll have heard of Record many a time. Mourinho used to speak to them a lot, and truthfully used to speak to them. He used to get some good quotes from Record, from interviews with Mourinho. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes, we've had a few from the Record over the last few weeks. So they're talking about Ruben Dias of Benfica, and they're talking about their president, who's concerned that Manchester United and Juventus again could be a club that will take him, and they'll be powerless to do anything about it. Very good centre-back, Ruben Dias. Did well for Portugal. I think it was the first few times people had seen him playing in the Nations League. Also, he has been a revelation for Benfica. He's only 22 and just over 6 foot, doing a really good job. And he's got a release clause of £60 million. So there are United fans out there. In fact, we did a poll on the United Stand Twitter yesterday. Who would you prefer, Harry Maguire or Ruben Dias? Didn't mention age, didn't mention the wage, didn't mention the salary, didn't mention that's the salary and the wage, it's the same thing. Didn't mention the fee. And 63% went with Ruben Dias over Harry Maguire, which is interesting because I'd take Harry Maguire. I think Harry Maguire is Premier League proven, played at a high level, and he's very good in the air. I would take Harry Maguire, but I do like the look of Ruben Dias, and Benfica are concerned that release clause leaves them powerless if somebody decides he's the centre-back we want to go and get. So £60 million would get him. There is that concern there. We're not the only we're not the only team they're concerned with. They did mention Juventus, so Juventus seem to be linked to absolutely everybody. They won't be linked to David Brooks, don't worry about that. But yeah, look, United need a centre-back. I don't know who it's going to be. I'm quite encouraged about the Koulibaly rumours again, because that's the centre-back I always felt United were going to get, and that's the centre-back I want United to get. So we'll see what happens with the centre-back. But Ruben Dias, again, snooze you lose, because if we don't make a move for him, and we're not going to make a move for him, Benfica will get him on a new contract where his release clause will go up to 100 million. So you've got to move quick on that if he is on the list. He might not even be on the list. David Brooks. I only bring him up because I think this is not going to happen. He's a Bournemouth player. They signed him from Sheffield United for 11 million a year ago. 21. I think he's going to be 22 very soon, actually. I valued him at 40 million. We might get him for a little bit less. We are favourites to sign him around 5-1, 5-2, which is quite long odds in transfers. He's been a decent player for Bournemouth. He's a skillful player. He's quite creative. I think he got 5 goals and 3 assists last season. But skillful player, exciting player, could go on to have a decent career. Welsh as well. Similarities with Daniel James, not in the way they play, but in the way age, potential, which is exactly why I think United wouldn't be in for a player like this. He can play, he's a right midfielder really, he can play attacking midfield, but he basically plays off the right, so we do need a player there. So I think this is why maybe United have been linked to him. But two things really, he's only been at Bournemouth a year, so they won't want to sell him. And two, I don't think that's what United need on the right wing. I think he's a risk. I think he's like Daniel James. It's like, it could be a great signing, but how many of those signings are we going to do? Because they won't all work. I mean, this has not been mentioned enough. If United buy 5 players, we'll be lucky if 3 of them are successful. Because for all the years of transfers, and I'm not even talking about Manchester United here, any club, every single transfer in Premier League history, I would say 70%, probably 60% are successful transfers. So if you buy 5 players, the law of probability says that at least 2 of them will flop anyway. So even if we do sign 5 players this summer, they won't all be successful. They won't. I mean, look at the last few years. Hardly any of them have been successful. So just because we sign players doesn't mean it's going to work. That's just the way it is. And how many of these players do we want to buy that are young players who might work, who might not work? So I don't think that David Brooks is the right option for Manchester United as a right winger anyway. I don't really want us to buy him. I don't think Bournemouth will sell him, but there has been a bit of rumour around him, and we are favourites to sign him, but they're quite long odd favourites. I don't see it happening, and I personally don't think it's the right deal. Talking about it not happening, Declan Rice apparently doesn't want to come to Manchester United because of the instability there, and doesn't feel that it's the right move for him. So even if United made a move for him, he would reject it. Some people feel a little bit aggrieved by that. I think you've got to just be realistic and say, he's 20 years of age, he's got a good career in front of him, comes to Manchester United, he's more of a centre defensive midfielder. Would we drop Matic for him straight away? We should do, but would we? He goes into a team that's struggling. Does he get much game time? Does he get to develop with quality players? He's probably better off at West Ham for another year. Yeah, I agree with him. And that's the challenge that Manchester United face. If there's any truth in that, United face that challenge. Some people will see it as a challenge that they want to take on, and some people won't. And some people will see it as a good opportunity, and some people will think, you're never going to win a title, and you're in the Emmerdale Cup. No thanks. I know I love the name of the club, but you're not that club anymore. So we've got to be realistic to that. That's what I've said. I know 1 or 2 high priority signings for Manchester United. Koulibaly and Bruno Fernandes. High priority signings for Manchester United going into this transfer window. They might get both, they might get neither. And they might get both because they want them, or they might get neither because both players go to other clubs, or Koulibaly stays where he is and Bruno Fernandes goes to another club because other clubs come in and they fancy that more than they fancy us. It's disappointing. I want to get those players, but actually, if they choose somebody else, we've only got ourselves to blame. We need players who come in and really want to come in and graft. And how many modern footballers want to take that responsibility on? If you are a professional footballer and you've got Manchester United, 6 years of turmoil, instability, inexperienced manager, you don't even know how he's going to play, or even if he's going to be there at Christmas. Yeah, the financial package is good, but you go in there because it's a big club, but without being a big club for 6 years, and it's very unstable. And then you got Man City more or less offering you the same money. You get to work under Pep Guardiola in a team that's arguably the best in Europe, certainly the best in England. Is going to be fighting for the title and probably winning it. Is probably going to go deep into the Champions League. You're going to play great football in a stable atmosphere. You can see why people would choose that. I hate saying it, but that's what United are fighting against, and that's what United... you talk about the owners, you talk about Woodward, we talk about Solskjaer. That's what they've got to get very, very quickly. This is why you can't snooze on this transfer window, because we're nowhere near being an exciting or even welcoming prospect to a new signing. So we need to do that as ASAP. And the only way you do that is by evidencing that to the outside world, that you have got stability, that you are moving in the right direction, and that you are a good football club again. And it is difficult. It is definitely difficult. We spoke about Diaz, we spoke about Ndombele, we spoke about Rabiot, we spoke about Rice. Maguire to City. Look, yeah, well, that's interesting, because Maguire to Manchester City because Maguire prefers Man City over Manchester United. He prefers going to Pep. Well, again, that's just what I just said there. Look, I don't like that. And Harry Maguire being English, I feel a bit pissed off about that one, because I'm like, how old are you? You're 26. 6 years ago, we were the best club in the world, best club in England when you were 20. 10 years ago, we were winning Champions Leagues when you're in your teens. You know what Manchester United Football Club is, Harry. You know that Man City is built on oil and fakeness. So why do you want to pick Man City over Manchester United? That hurts because I know he knows what we're all about. But in fairness to him, again, it's because the stability's there, the chance to win trophies there, to play good football's there, and earn more or less the same money. And that's what, we might not like that as United fans, but now people are looking at Man City, and even though they know it's based on oil, the success and opportunity is there, and it's not where we are because we're being run so badly. So maybe Maguire does prefer Manchester United to Man City to Manchester United. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. We'll see. But we can't be shocked by it, can we? Anyway, please do drop a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. What are your thoughts on that Dybala story? Would you take Dybala? Or like me, do you think he'd flop like a porn star's dick in a sausage factory? What about Ndombele? Are you encouraged that we're in the fight? Do you think we can win the race? Ruben Diaz, would you take him over any other centre-back option? David Brooks, have I been unfair? Is that somebody we should be looking at? Get your comments in below. We'll be live during the day if anything happens. Wan-Bissaka hopefully. If not, we'll be live again at 8 o'clock tonight. Thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoying all the comments and the shows. Another week down. Let me just say, 21st, 21st. What's the date tomorrow? 21st, 22nd, 23rd. A week on Monday, pre-season starts. I'll leave you with that good one, and we've done one deal. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon.